Hey, Foot Clan, it is week 3 of the fantasy season, and that means it is week 3 for FanDuel. FanDuel is hosting 1 week fantasy football. Choose your contest, pick your team, and win. Look, they got contests for beginners. They got big tournaments for more experienced players. They got leagues starting at just $1, and setting a lineup is super easy. Cash prizes are paid out every single week, and this week, do not miss FanDuel's Sunday Million Tournament, paying out $2 million in prizes this week. So get in on that. Try FanDuel now and get up to $50 in free entries. New users who deposit will get 5 free entries into NFL 50-50 beginner contest valued at up to $50. You'll get 1 free entry a week for 5 weeks. The value of the free entries varies based on deposited amount. Go to FanDuel.com, click the Join Now button, and use our promo code BALLERS. That's FanDuel.com, promo code BALLERS. Void where prohibited.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, coming to you from the FantasyJocks.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
He got me again.
Billy B?
Billy B. Well, we need to clarify which Bill got me, and I'm not talking
Bill Brash.
I'm not talking about Bill O'Boring.
Oh, man.
Not Bill O'Boring. Not Bill Vanilla.
That's Billy Obi.
I'm talking about Billy B.
Bill Belichick, man.
I'm never again.
You're never betting against.
I'm never betting against him again. I mean, and you know what it is? I'm more impressed. I'm just as impressed with Josh McDaniels.
Oh,
I mean,
sure.
just
I was telling Mike off the air. So my wife watched Hard Knocks when it was the Houston Texans. So she comes in halfway through and she's like, "Oh, it's the Texans. Where's J.J. Watt?" And so we start watching only J.J. Watt, and there were like 5 plays in a row where they basically ran the ball, and every single time they just ran away from J.J. Watt. Wherever he was, it was like, nope, we're not going at you.
Good coaching.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like we don't have too much pride. We're not gonna beat him, so we're just not gonna go after him.
Well, fantasy implications of last night's game abounded. Credit to Mike, who believed in and endorsed LeGarrette Blount wholeheartedly.
Hey, you know what? Shout out to Mike, the fantasy hitman, right? Not only did he nail LeGarrette Blount so far, but Mike, you are currently the number 9 ranked expert in the world.
I appreciate that.
Well, he's number 1,
in our hearts.
expert.
In our hearts.
Number 9 ranked, you're saying accuracy.
Yes, accuracy. He is currently top 10 in Fantasy Pros expert
thank
rankings.
you. I appreciate
We
that.
try to be accurate here as well as
You know who I'm
fun.
starting next week? LeGarrette Blount.
What's great about a guy like LeGarrette Blount, there's a certain category of player where there is no – and D'Angelo Williams is that now, where it just – you do not care whatsoever about workload. Like they are just immune to any sort of carry limits or anything like that.
Right.
Like
Yes.
LeGarrette Blount, if it was 40, they don't care. If it was 30, they don't care. And same with D'Angelo Williams. Certain players they'll just give the rock to, and Blount eventually broke through, got a long run, had the goal line carry.
That's what the grinders do. I mean, if you're watching for the first half, you're like, oh, his yards per carry is so low. He's wearing down the defense. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, well-coached game by Bill Belichick. You weren't happy if you had Julian Edelman.
You would look. I'm a Julian Edelman. I played him last night. I'm not Julian Edelman. I'm Julian Edelman owner.
No, you're Mike.
I played him, and I knew that there was limited upside. What stunk though is watching the game, seeing how involved he was. He got a couple jet sweeps. He's catching some passes. You're like,
he looked great.
Oh, I'm gonna get. He trucked a couple of people. Like, oh yeah, okay, I'll get that 10 points. No, 7.
Julian Edelman and Lamar Miller are opposites. You want to know why?
Yeah.
No matter what happens, I am amazed by it. No matter what happens to Julian Edelman at the end of a play, he never goes down. He just never goes down. I'm amazed by his balance or whatever it is, his toughness. And on the other side, Lamar Miller loves the smell of grass. I mean, just enjoys the aroma of New England grass. Because before every impact, look, Jason made a good point this morning when I was trying to give him like the unbiased take on Lamar Miller. And the reality is when you're going to get the ball 20, 25 times, like you need to pick your spots, right? Like
when
you want to
you're
be smart.
surrounded by 3 or 4 guys about to tackle you, I am fine with you diving for that extra yard on the ground.
You know what
and
it is?
Not taking the damage.
I got some information from him and his agent. He likes to go down like a foot or two before the first down, so he gets another carry. He wants the carry count raised,
Ooh.
so he never tries to break through the defense. And
Job
look,
security.
third game, I know the workload's there. Nothing wrong with Lamar Miller. I had him ranked very highly this week. Didn't score for the third straight game. Third straight game with under 4 carry. All I'm saying is the volume, he's not breaking big plays, and I think part of that is because he's just taking what's in front of him, and maybe he's been told to do that. But I'm not impressed with the big play capabilities of Lamar Miller, whether it's in the passing game when he caught the ball and went down, or in the running game where he took 2 yards and went down.
Well, to be
Just my observations from the game.
I had very similar observations, but to be fair, I was watching a lot of guys lose their footing last night.
I agree with that.
Including Lamar Miller. So I'm going to give him a somewhat of a pass. I do expect more out of Miller going forward, but he's an every week start because he's going to touch the ball 20 to 25 times.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, and the reality is their special teams were so bad that they took away a giant chunk of the opportunity for the Houston Texans. They got the ball every time, inside the 25, and that was when they actually held on to the ball and didn't fumble their kickoffs. So the touchdown opportunities weren't there for Lamar Miller. At the end of the game, the guy had 107 yards plus 4 receptions. I had him
What do
in
you
my
mean
lineup.
107 yards plus? He had 21 for 80, isn't that right?
Yeah, 27 passing yards.
Okay.
107 total.
You said 107 plus 4 receptions. So
yes,
I
he had
was
100.
confused.
Okay, he had 107 total yards, and he had 4 receptions. So if you're in a PPR, that's 4 more points, or half point, you get 2 points.
Sure.
I'm happy with him.
Okay, there you go. I will say this: I watched the first half live, and then I had some stuff going on, so I taped the second half. And when I went into the second half, a lot of times I'm impatient, so I watch it faster. The third quarter, I fast forwarded, and it was New England's ball the entire time. And then all of a sudden, there's 3 minutes left in the third, and I'm like, oh, here's a drive. Here's an opportunity for Will Fuller. Oh, it's over. I mean, it was just, like you said, very limited opportunities. Will Fuller had another drop. He's had 4 on the season. He was targeted 7 times. He does seem to be very involved in the offense. It just was one of those games. He had a drop. They couldn't do much. They took away the receivers. Ryan Griffin had 8 receptions. And I'm never doubting Bill Belichick again.
Yeah,
I mean,
Brock Osweiler versus Bill Belichick is an overmatch.
Well, and we'll leave the summary of last night's game at this. Brock came out, and they asked him some questions about the game, and he said, "That's not the way we wanted the game to go."
Very astute.
We did not want to get shut out.
No. So, all right, here's what we got going on the show today. We have the second half of all of our matchup previews. We're going to give you some insight into the weekend, and we've got our DFS segment with Chris Meany, right? We got that going on today?
That is correct.
The Daily Dose. So if you have some questions about the aforementioned FanDuel starts, some guys that he thinks are great plays in those tournaments, that type of situation, you're going to hear him on the show later today. You can follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. You can follow Mike at FF Hitman. Follow me at Andy Holloway. Follow Jason at JasonFFL. And if you do that, you'll see on Sunday morning, Mike jumps on for a Periscope, a live question and answer session where he is just bombarded 8,000
questions.
8,000 questions that he has to try to choose which one to answer.
The chaos is beautiful.
Yeah. So there you go. A lot of questions. You can tune in it's a staple for a lot of our listeners to check that out on Sunday morning. What else is going on?
You know what today is?
What day is that, Jason?
Today's Foot Clan Friday.
Foot Clan Friday!
Every Friday during the year, we give a Foot Clan t-shirt away to a member of the official Foot Clan from jointhefoot.com. Do we have a winner today, Mike?
We do have a winner. I need to get us a fantastic drop.
You really do. A Foot Clan Friday drop.
Yeah. So
I'll make a note, Mike.
Please jot that down. Today's winner of the Foot Clan Friday from jointhefoot.com, Mark Folds. Mark Folds. Congratulations. We will be getting a t-shirt out to you very shortly.
That's a big thank you to everybody that sports over at Join the Foot. So all of the Foot Clan over there, thank you. We'll be giving out a shirt every Friday to one of you. Hopefully you get it next week.
There you go. Let's move on.
News and notes from around the league.
Let's say we kind of glossed over Billy B also getting us with Rob Gronkowski. Getting the going goose egg.
Yeah, I mean, if the brisket could have thrown him, like if he threw to the outside shoulder on that first
instead
play,
of the fifth row
on that goal line attempt, he would have at least had a touchdown. I mean, it was really going to be easy for Rob Gronkowski. Right. But, yeah, I mean, tough situation.
Yeah. Yep.
We had a guy in our league that –
yeah, I'm playing him.
That had Antonio Gates, who's very questionable this week, and Gronkowski – due to work or whatever horrible excuse, he forgot to put Gronkowski into the lineup.
Did he forget?
And
he'll say that now.
He was, stupid like a fox. I mean, he ends up with a 0 on his bench from Gronkowski. Now,
at least he had LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, he did have Blount. So, all right, fantasy football stupid. All right, Doug Baldwin said barring any setbacks, he'll be playing in Sunday's game. Right. In hindsight, I wish I had played him over Will Fuller in our league of record. Tyler Lockett upgraded to full. He'll be playing. Thomas Rawls remains sidelined on Thursday. And this is the Seahawks News Hour.
Yeah, this is. And this could be woke truthers. This is our opportunity.
Every week there's a reason for you to get excited.
And this is why Kristen Michael is the best. Because there's always the chance. But
if Thomas Rawls actually sits, if he's out of the game and doesn't play, then Kristen Michael should go ham because he'll be at home against the 49ers.
I have him at 11. I have him at 11 this week.
If Rawls plays, I think they're going to eat into each other. We're going to see what we've seen the last 2 weeks, which is meh.
All right, Chris Ivory upgraded to full in Thursday's practice. Is he worth a start, or are you just kind of waiting to see what you got?
If you're desperate, I think he's actually going to produce, but I can tell you for sure I'm not playing him.
Chris Ivory or Matt Asiata?
I'd probably go Asiata. Wait a week on Ivory.
Chris Ivory or Dwayne Washington?
I'd go Ivory.
I'll go Ivory there.
Okay. Delaney Walker returned to a limited practice on Thursday, on track to play. Antonio Gates was not practicing on Thursday, so you need to monitor these. We can obviously give you the updates here on the Friday show, but there are going to be reports on Friday practices. There are going to be reports on Saturday, and Mike will catch you up on Sunday morning on Twitter. We'll keep posting things. But
really important news, speaking of the days of the week. Alshon Jeffrey missed practice again on Thursday, missed entirely. And the reason Here's what's really important. If you have Alshon Jeffrey, as I do, he's one of my most owned players, he plays Sunday night. And that stinks big time because what that means is you might be in a situation where you have to go to your lineup and you have to choose someone on your roster right now to drop in order to pick up a wide receiver that plays running
Sunday
back.
or Monday night.
Yeah, that plays Sunday night or Monday night. You've got guys like Jacob Tamme. If what you need to do is move guys like Alshon Jeffrey out of the wide receiver spot, make sure he's set to go in your flex. That way you have more opportunities should Sunday night roll around and he's ruled out of the game. You can put in other positions, but definitely monitor that. We saw last year when he missed practice, a lot of times he just, they say it's a game time decision. He didn't get on the field.
All right, Bucs tight end Austin Seferian-Jenkins was arrested on a DUI charge. This may be the end of the road for ASJ.
Guy's such an idiot.
He is because he's super talented, but he's super stupid, And so the DUI charge, look, Cameron Brate might be somebody you need to just, if he's got it all to himself in the future here,
yeah, possible.
He's a streaming candidate at the tight end position. And then Sammy Watkins was not present for the start of practice on Friday. If he misses the game, good luck scoring, Buffalo.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know what they're going to do against the Arizona defense. I mean, they'll be at home at least, and maybe he can throw it deep to Marquise Goodwin again.
They're going to hope Goodwin can burn somebody.
So that's all the news I want to get into. We have tons more to cover. We obviously have the forecast and the daily dose. So anything else you guys want to add on the news?
Let's get to these games.
All right, let's do it.
Fantasy Forecast.
All right, let's jump into the Browns heading to Miami to take on the Dolphins, who are almost 10-point favorites in this one. We have a 42-point over-under. I'm a very Mike did a Periscope yesterday. A lot of people had questions about Tannehill, like Tannehill Stafford or Tannehill Ryan. Look, I'm a pretty big Tannehill fan this week. I like what I saw, 3 wide receiver sets. You heard me talk about Devontae Parker as maybe a surprise flex guy as my start of the week yesterday. So, look, I'm going to buy into the at-home against Cleveland equation here. And I'm taking Ryan Tannehill, and I'm playing him over most guys, and you can go check out the rankings. But do you guys think I'm crazy?
I don't think you're crazy, especially with Arian Foster being out. I mean, obviously, Ryan Tannehill, he's my start of the week. The one worry that I have is, kind of like we saw yesterday, when one offense is extremely inept, and I don't think that the Cleveland Browns are going to be able to get it done with their, with Cody Kessler at quarterback. When you're up, you run the ball. So maybe this is an opportunity for Jay Ajayi.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you, because you said when you're up, you run the ball.
That makes sense.
I mean, but what is the outlook for him? I mean, would you play Ajayi over an Asiata? Asking for a friend.
Yeah. I think I would. I think the opportunity, when I look at who has the larger upside, right? I don't believe in Ajayi, but should Ajayi be the guy in this game against Cleveland in a game they should be winning at home, his upside is, multiple touchdown, LeGarrette Blount type of game where if he gets the carries. I love Kenyon Drake. To be honest, I'm avoiding most players in this game other than Jarvis Landry and Ryan Tannehill. I know you also like Devontae Parker, right?
I do like Devontae Parker. I'm definitely avoiding everybody on the Brown side other than Isaiah Crowell. I don't feel great about Barnage, but if you need to stream a tight end, you could do worse, in my opinion. The Dolphins right now are the 31st ranked run defense. I think they're going to lean on Crowell by necessity. Look, you saw last night a perfect example of an inept offense with no passing game that could still produce fantasy numbers for a running back, albeit not huge numbers, but good numbers like Lamar Miller put up. So I think Crowell is good for a couple receptions, probably 20 carries. So I think you have to roll him out there. And he's been really, really good. He's averaged, 6.8 yards per carry on the year because of that huge run?
I'll say a 75-yard run will do that after 2 weeks.
Number 4 fantasy running back through 2 games. And the Dolphins have not been good against the run.
True.
So let's move on. Redskins, Giants. Talk about this game. Look, Cousins, Manning, I feel like this is another game that really could be a high-scoring affair. The Giants' defense has been better than we expected, and Kirk Cousins has been worse than we expected.
Yeah, I would.
Worse than you guys expected.
Worse than I expected, certainly. I don't know. I mean, it could be. It could turn into one of those. I'm kind of buying into the Giants, their defense. I think that their defense is a fine play this week with the way that Cousins has been turning the ball over. I like Eli Manning a lot in this game, though, with the passing weapons that Eli now has. We know he's just destroying as far as accuracy. His pass completion is up near 80%, which is just ridiculous. I know it's only 2 weeks, but that's ridiculous. And they can't run the ball. So with Jennings banged up with the hand, Shane Vereen is not a typical running back. He's an okay play because he'll catch some passes and get a couple carries. But I think this is the Eli Manning show where we're going to see, I'm good playing all 3 wide receivers at certain levels for the Giants.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about this is, when it comes to Kirk Cousins on the road, sometimes that's over-exaggerated that he's great at home and bad on the road. It doesn't work necessarily like that. He's a little bit worse on the road. But what I do like about it for fantasy is he throws more interceptions on the road. He also throws more touchdowns, right, out of necessity. So it kind of leads to higher scoring opportunities because obviously if you're turning the ball over, putting points on the clock, as I like to say.
As you like to say.
Now, the real question for me is the New York Giants rushing defense real? They've looked good.
Right.
And so Matt Jones.
Their whole defenses look good.
They really have. They really have.
And they're at home. Look, nobody throws more than the Redskins. That's why Cousins can stink and still be okay, right? Like stink,
yes,
but be a fantasy okay player because they throw the ball 75% of the time.
Yeah, Matt Jones, I would prefer not to play him this week against the Giants. Like Jason said, the Giants are currently the 4th best running defense.
I think this is the get-right breakout game for Beckham and for fantasy owners to breathe easy. I am not excited about Rashad Jennings because they've already said that injury is going to linger. With a lingering injury that they're willing to publicly state is that way, the workload's going to be more distributed, in my opinion. I don't think the opportunity – look, goal line is going to be Jennings, I think. So maybe.
If they do that. But how about what are your guys' take on Jordan Reed? I know that there's some players out there who are they're starting to panic on Reed.
I'm not panicking on Reed. The targets have been there. He's clearly still the number 1 read for Kirk Cousins. He's talented. I mean, he hasn't gotten in the end zone If he had touchdowns, everybody's opinion of him would be completely different. I think Jordan Reed. Who am I playing over Jordan Reed?
Right.
Yeah, no, it's a good question because people wanted, they wanted what Mike predicted, which was the best player that's ever played in the history of the world.
Yes.
And
it's coming.
Look, very few tight ends offer the upside potential of Jordan Reed, and so that's where you're buying into him still.
And also, Deshaun Jackson has
very good point. He
has been not practicing, and Jay Gruden has said Friday will be a key in determining if Deshaun Jackson is actually going to play.
Yeah, so opportunities for Josh Doxson as a stream?
Possible. I would like Crowder.
I like Crowder.
Crowder. Crowder's getting, it's pronounced Crowder. He's getting a ton of snaps. He's getting targets. He's getting goal line targets, red zone targets.
And he's talented.
He's sneaky.
He's a sneaky snart.
We're going to take a quick break to thank our sponsor of today's show, ZipRecruiter. Now, it is a nice thing when you do an ad. Like, we had ZipRecruiter on a couple of months ago, and I had people reach out to me on Twitter and say, look, I just got a job on ZipRecruiter thanks to listening to the show. And
That's
if
great.
you are a business owner, this is where ZipRecruiter really shines. I mean, if you're hiring and you want to post your job to the very best candidates, like some of these listeners that have found their jobs on ZipRecruiter, look, you can't post it in just one place. You need to post it on all the best job sites. And if you go to ZipRecruiter, that's what they do. 100-plus job sites. You get to post them across all of them, including social media networks like Facebook and Twitter. And you can find them in any city or industry, completely nationwide. And you just post one time, and you get to watch your qualified candidates roll into ZipRecruiter's easy-to-use interface. It really is the best, and there is no more of this juggling emails or calls into the office. You can screen your candidates really easily. You can rate them and hire the right person really, really fast. So find out today why ZipRecruiter has been used by over 1 million businesses.
1 million.
And right now, our listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free by going to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. That's ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. One more time to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/sportsfan. Do it right now.
Yeah, and we also want to thank SeatGeek. SeatGeek has been a longtime sponsor of the Fantasy Footballers, and they're a sponsor we like because they're awesome. If you're going to any game or any ticket
always better
event,
to be awesome.
Yes, any ticket event, whether it's a concert or a football game or a comedian, you got to use SeatGeek to get your tickets. Look, just like ZipRecruiter, they're going to take hundreds of different places, pool it all into one spot, so you're getting a great price on the tickets, and they make it really easy for you. In every section, they've got a color-coordinated grid. I've personally used, all three of us have used SeatGeek for pretty much every ticket we ever get, and it's so easy to find your seats, to pick exactly where you want to be in the stadium. You're getting a great rate, and it's easy to do. So here's what you do. They're going to give you $20 off or $20 back in your pocket after you make your first purchase. So download the free SeatGeek app, go to the settings tab, click add promo code, enter the promo code footballers, and SeatGeek will send you $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase. So download the free SeatGeek app, enter promo code footballers today.
All right.
This is not worth the breaking news button, but Joe Hayden is not practicing with a groin. We were just talking about the Miami game. It just gets worse for Cleveland.
It's better for my Tannehill prediction.
It certainly does.
I don't think Joe Hayden's been Joe Hayden in a long time.
Didn't he have 2 picks last week or something?
But he's still good.
Yeah. He's
great.
Guess from the Browns' perspective, he's the best.
Oh, man, the Browns. Poor Browns.
Hey, you got the Cavs.
The Raiders travel to Tennessee to take on the Titans. Over under 47 in this game. I'm pretty high on Mariota this week. I have him very, very high in the rankings as a top 10 guy, a streaming candidate.
Perhaps because the Raiders are the worst pass defense in the league right now.
That'd be one of the reasons. I mean, they have given up over 500 yards of offense in back-to-back weeks. Their games have been defined by, shootout.
And one of those quarterbacks was Matt Ryan.
Right.
So if you think Matt Ryan stinks, then you need to buy into Mariota against the Raiders.
Okay, so a lot of fantasy owners are concerned about Latavius Murray. You mix in the fact that the Titans are, right now a very good run defense. What are your concerns with the volume? Because that's what it is. It's not efficiency with Murray. It's been volume issues. You've had Jalen Richard get carries. You've had DeAndre Washington get carries. I don't think that's going to stop. I mean, they invested a pick into Washington, and he's been good. So what in the world do you do here?
I'm still playing Murray. I'm keeping the faith that he's a every week starter right now. I know that he got He had some pretty solid volume in the passing game as well.
2 picks for Joe Hayden last week, by the way.
I apologize,
Yeah,
Joe.
Yeah, you should.
I mean, he's great. He's like, he has that same contract that Peterson and Sherman have. I mean, they all got it around the same time.
Yeah.
So
He's great.
Well, he was amazing. He's taken a step down,
No.
but he had a great
yes.
week.
Well, he's had
Last
a lot of
year,
head problems.
He had a concussion
problem.
Yeah, he was not as good with the concussion. You're right.
Yeah,
That's true.
I agree.
Very fair.
Proceed.
But Latavius Murray last week, 6 receptions for 44 yards. So as long as Murray continues to be involved in the passing game, and I don't see a reason why they completely eliminate him from that, then he's still going to be a solid play. I think that there will be some points scored in this game, which that's a ridiculous statement. I mean, I feel like there will be a higher amount of points scored, so more scoring opportunities for Murray. So he's a good play.
Let's say you're choosing between a couple of guys with a lot of preseason hype that haven't quite delivered on.
All right.
So Latavius Murray, or do you play Devonta Freeman?
I play Latavius Murray by a hair.
I'll go Murray.
Okay.
Wait, let me check my rank.
What's funny is
I have a good game for Freeman this week.
I have Murray and Freeman back to back.
I have
Murray ahead. You have Murray and Freeman back to back.
And
Murray
you-
ahead. And
you
Mike,
got
I have
Murray.
Murray slightly ahead
Yeah.
of Freeman.
would
Slightly.
you play Shady McCoy or Latavius Murray? Because McCoy has Arizona.
Ooh.
Murray has Tennessee, both on the road.
I have Murray ahead
All right.
slightly.
Okie dokie. On the other side, Tajay Sharp is
Play him.
the number one. I'm excited about him this week. You have Cooper and Crabtree. Both of those guys are going to be on the field.
Yep.
Going to play them both. Clive Walford, streaming candidate.
Yes, that's
All right.
interesting. I like to see that the progression is trending up for Walford, getting more involved in the passing game. He was a guy that I liked last year, just not to play last year, but moving forward. And it looked like the Raiders did too. Started to get him more involved at the end of the year, and now they're doing the same. If we can get consistency out of Walford, which I mean goes without saying, but he becomes a locked and loaded low end tight end 1 for me.
Yeah, he's a talented guy.
He's
6 for
like
50
the
and a
Ebron
touchdown.
of
Yes,
on
very,
Oakland. Where
that's a very good comp.
yeah. 49ers take on the Seahawks in Seattle, where everybody loves to play, and the Seahawks are favored by 9.5 points. Look, the story here is I feel like we're saying this phrase a lot. There are a number of players that we think, hey, this is their week to get right.
Well, it's only the 3rd week, so
Well, sure, but hey, man,
Well,
now's the time.
early in this
A lot of our teams need help.
early in this week, the question of what Russell Wilson are we going to get?
Russell
Wilson. What I believed was going to be determined based on the health of the 2 wide receivers. I mean, he has 2 main targets that he's throwing to. Both of them look like they could have problems getting in the game this week, and both have had good news through the week. They're both expected to start. They've been at practice, so I think with Doug Baldwin and Tyler Lockett ready to go, I'm fine with Russell Wilson. He says his ankle's been getting better every week since the original hardship.
yeah.
It's nice that Baldwin and Lockett are both practicing in full.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I still have my concerns for Wilson to give you what you expect from Russell Wilson. I think he's a fine play. He's okay. I'm not gonna grab garbage off of the wire to play over him, but I have my concerns.
Last week, the 49ers gave up 353 yards in the air to Cam Newton,
Cameron
and
Newton,
another 176 on the ground. So this is why we say Michael could be a great play if Rawls is out. I still think he's a good play this week with Rawls recovering because look, if Rawls plays, but he's missed practice, they're going to limit his exposure, in my opinion. And they've been complimenting Mr. The Woke One.
I have one thing I want to say for this game. This is a personal message. Torrey Smith, please continue to stay alive.
Okay.
Bring me life, Torrey Smith, with these touchdowns.
Carlos Hyde or TJ Yeldon?
Oh, that's gross.
I'm going to go Carlos Hyde. I still think he's actually a talented player.
Oh,
Not that I don't think
Carlos
TJ
Hyde or Jay Ajayi?
Hyde.
Hyde against Seattle in Seattle over Ajayi? No, you could be right.
That's gross.
At least you know the workload.
That one's really, really tough. I think I would go
Hyde.
Hyde.
Carlos Hyde or Matt Asiata?
Oh, yes. Yes, that's the best. Asiata. For all of
the Silicon Valley.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Silicon Valley, you have no
Asiata.
idea what we're saying, and it sounds really stupid like half the things we say. I want to say this about Carlos Hyde. I think Carlos Hyde is going to be a guy who, in a couple of weeks, is a good buy low candidate, because I like what I see from the offensive scheme and how they're using him, but he has just had the most brutal He starts with L.A., then Carolina, then Seattle. He goes to Dallas next week, which is no rose-colored game. Arizona.
Walk in the park might have been a good
Arizona after that. But
color the game.
Later
Rose,
in the year,
rose covered.
Later in the year, he's got a good stretch. So I think Carlos Hyde in a couple weeks will be a good buy low candidate.
Oh, that was a combination. That's two cliches crashing together and exploding and failing.
Jason is a brilliant man. You want to know why? He has created an environment in which he can say anything, ever, always, in any form or order, and it's of no consequence. It's
a beautiful thing.
It is a beautiful thing. Rams, Buccaneers. Rams traveling to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay are 5.5-point favorites at home.
There have been a few complaints that this week we really didn't talk about Todd Gurley, and everybody who has Todd Gurley is like, what do I do? You've seen a lot of people trading him super cheap. You've seen a lot of people trading for him super cheap.
I would be in the second category.
I would
be trying hard to be. I know Mike is not.
I am almost paralyzed with fear on Gurley, where I wouldn't sell him, but I also would not buy him. I think this week is a big test going against the Buccaneers. The Buccaneers have a solid running defense. They're currently 8th, so and they're favored heavily, which you know that's good for home running backs and bad for the away running backs. So if Gurley cannot show me something this week, I'm going to be freaked out. I buried Gurley last week in the rankings because I had no confidence. I have some in him. I have him as a 2 this week, but I'm still nervous about it. I mean, like, you have even Tavon Austin, who is not my favorite player, but at least last year he was doing positive things for the team. He's getting nothing done. The only
he
person
looked a lot better last week.
Sure, but the only person who's actually doing anything for this team is Kenny Britt.
I was going to say
he's had a good start. On the other side of the ball, I mean, Evans leading the league in targets, 25 targets through 2 games. You have Charles Sims taking over for Doug Martin. I think Jaquiz Rodgers sees his time in this game as well. Not that he's start-worthy, but he's just going to be the guy that carries some of the extra load, so Sims doesn't have to be out there all game. And then Jameis Winston, one good, one bad. I think he's due for another mediocre game. That's what I think.
Yeah?
The matchup isn't great. I mean, the Rams defense showed up last week. They beat Seattle, albeit they were, Russell.
That's a really banged up offense they beat.
I think Charles Sims can be played because he's going to be involved in the passing game. I'm not enthusiastic about his opportunity to get between the carries and be efficient with his carries. What are your final thoughts on this, with Martin out?
I think that Sims is an okay play. If you have him, I do. I have Sims in a lot of places. I am throwing him likely into my flex. I'm not pulling out my starting running backs for him this week, though.
All right, the Chargers travel to Indianapolis and take on the Colts, who are favored by 3. Really great game by the Chargers defense and offense last week. You saw Travis Benjamin willing and able to step up in the Keenan Allen injury aftermath. Tyrell Williams starting at wide receiver there. But let me ask you this. What is the latest on Antonio Gates, and what will be the situation at the tight end position if he goes out?
Well, I'm not feeling very confident that Antonio Gates is actually going to play. When you are missing practice this late in the week.
And they signed a guy off the practice squad, a tight end.
Okay, so the Chargers are clearly preparing for Antonio Gates to miss. That puts Hunter Henry into the spotlight, a pretty highly touted, highly drafted rookie. I think, let's say you're wading through the Barfy tight ends. You could do worse than Hunter Henry against the Colts, who are just a really bad defense. You have the over-under at over 51 points, so it's projected to be that high-scoring game. I don't know if I would jump in on him. I think there's better options.
Yeah, there are better options.
But there's far worse ones as well.
Yes, Hunter Henry could end up doing something because of need in a high-scoring game. But so far on the year, he's had 1 catch. I don't think that you can trust a rookie tight end when there are other good options on the waiver that I would rather,
like Tammy or Pitta.
Yeah, or even Dwayne Allen, I think, is available in about half of leagues.
Yeah, Walford too.
I'm going to take all of those guys over Hunter Henry, and that's not to say he couldn't go out and have a great play. This is a really exciting game for fantasy. I'm starting to worry a little bit. Like I love Phillip Rivers this week. I think he's going to be fine. But if you have a situation where Travis Benjamin is, on lockdown by Vonta Davis, Antonio Gates is gone, Danny Woodhead is no longer there, you've got a situation where you go, well, who's going to get it done? Who is it going to be? And is that going to be Tyrell Williams? Could it be Dexter McCluster getting more involved than we think?
People want us to talk about Dexter McCluster.
And it's fair.
He's one of those guys, I think, I couldn't have the confidence to start him, but I'll bet he's decently high in my rankings because I expect he will get involved this week. He'll have enough usage, but I want to see it before I trust him in my lineup. I should have other options that I trust more than him. And you also have Joey Bosa, who's going to be missing this game, is expected to miss this game. So the defenses on both sides of the ball shouldn't be great.
Melvin Gordon, everybody wants to buy into the superstardom potential of Melvin Gordon. Now, last week, Indianapolis played a very good offensive line and a good running back in C.J. Anderson, and they held him mostly in check. Yes, he scored, but he was 3.7 a carry. It was 20 for 74. I was impressed with their defensive front line. They have a very big front line. I don't know if this is the walk-in-the-park owners of Melvin Gordon think it is.
I don't know. I'm not concerned about it being overly easy. What I'm going to see, though, is Melvin Gordon highly used. I believe it was 24 carries last week. And he had over 100 yards on the ground, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep,
yes.
24 for 102.
So I love it. He was very involved last year in the passing game. When the Chargers made that commitment to Melvin Gordon halfway through the year, we saw it where they kind of felt the season was over, so they wanted to get Gordon going. We saw him be great in the passing game. So you combine his rushing attempts and with the passing game, you're talking about a potential full 3-down running back here against a bad defense.
Yeah, to answer my previous question of who's going to be the guy to step up, the reason I have Melvin Gordon as my start of the week is because if he gets involved in the passing game, he should have a lights-out top 5 type of production. We don't know that yet, that he will be in that role, but I mean he has the opportunity in a very big way.
All right, and the last guy we have to mention in this game is Philip Dorsett, who will be taking over for Dante Moncrief. I think Dorsett, you're in an offense with Andrew Luck. You have the opportunity across from Hilton to make some plays. And so I think Dorsett is flex-worthy this week.
Yeah, absolutely. With T.Y. Hilton taking on Jason Verrett, who has become a very quietly become one of the best cornerbacks in the league, shutting down Macklin, shutting down Allen Robinson, and now he gets Hilton. Dorsett could be forced into a larger role than even maybe the Colts want now.
And Frank Gore's a good start here
yeah,
as well.
It's not bad.
Let's talk. We need to move on. Let's talk to the Jets. Let's talk to them. Get them on the phone. Let's talk about the Jets and the Chiefs. Chiefs are favored at home. Fitzpatrick, Alex Smith. You've got Matt Forte, one of the top fantasy running backs in the league right now. And then you have the ensemble on the other side where we don't know if do we have final word on Jamal Charles right now?
I will check.
Please check on him. Spencer Ware going up against a tough defensive front if Charles is gone. But as Mike checks on that, let's talk about the wide receivers here. Brandon Marshall's questionable right now. Eric Decker should be in there. Quincy Enunwa is practicing in full. What do you do with the Jets wide receiver core?
You start them. I mean, you're not going to sit Marshall or Decker. I don't love this matchup. I know that the Chiefs have been beat so far in the year in their secondary, but there's just such a high chance of touchdowns for Marshall if he's healthy or Decker if he's in there. I will say this, though. Ryan Fitzpatrick on the road is not the same as Ryan Fitzpatrick at home. He usually throws almost a touchdown less. So if you look at my rankings, I'm not excited about either of those guys, but it's hard to sit them.
There's no new update on Charles yet. I expect him to miss.
Now, Spencer Ware, because of his involvement in the passing game, he's leading the league in terms of yards from scrimmage per touch. Almost 10 yards is the average that he's producing per touch. So I think he is not an extremely high upside play, but I think a pretty safe one if Charles is out.
Yeah, I like him as a running back too this week. I'm not going to go crazy for Ware, but he's a guy that if he's on your roster, he's near a must start.
Now, in terms of the passing game for Alex Smith, Jeremy Maclin, and Travis Kelce, The Jets have been vulnerable in the passing game. We still saw that last week. They were beat on some big plays. Revis Island hasn't been, what it was in the past. So I think Jeremy Maclin's fine. I start him every week as a 2 and feel fine with the production I'm going to get out of Jeremy Maclin. It's always going to be 5 or 6 catches and a chance at a touchdown.
Yeah, I'm not overly concerned actually with Revis. I've seen him beat by a couple big plays, but other than the big plays, he's been pretty solid of being the defender that we expect.
Just abnormal though for him.
Yeah, it is a little abnormal. I mean, he's a little older. Maybe these big plays will sneak by him every once in a while. Matt Forte up against the Chiefs' 30th ranked running defense. Fantasy owners have to just be delighted with this matchup. In the news that Bowles has come out and said, I'm not monitoring Forte's carry count yet. So you know that he's just going to keep getting fed the ball, similar to LeGarrette Blount, except Matt Forte is spectacular in the passing game as well.
Just got an update on Sammy Watkins. The likelihood of him playing is low, is what I'm hearing.
All right.
So if you had to take a shot in the dark on another receiver for Buffalo, who would it be?
Robert Woods. I think when Sammy Watkins – I love Michael Keaton.
Come on. Andy's the worst.
I actually mouthed it to him first.
Yeah.
I just assumed it was the moment was missed.
Yeah, we missed it. All right. When Robert Woods when Sammy Watkins doesn't play, I think Robert Woods is a good enough start. But the problem is, if Sammy isn't in the game, you probably won't have Patrick Peterson shadow anyone. But I just think that, they're not going to be able to do much. They got to go over the top to get fantasy relevance. I don't think they're going to be able to dink and dunk.
All right.
Yes, turn that hat backwards.
The Pittsburgh Steelers travel to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. Eagles are 3.5-point underdogs at home. What do we think we need to discuss fantasy-wise in this game? I'm
going to throw some shade out here. Big Ben has been on fire this year. He's throwing for, 350-plus yards and 3 touchdowns in his first 2 games. I think this is a trap game for Big Ben. For me, I think the Philadelphia Eagles defense is so underrated right now. What they've shown the first 2 weeks is that they are good. When they were with Chip Kelly, they were exhausted. You can't be a good defense in the Chip Kelly system. I think they had the pieces. Now they get a coach who has put together a solid defense. And you have Big Ben, who, let me ask you this. When I say which quarterbacks are you weary of starting on the road versus at home, who comes to mind?
Drew
Brees. Big Ben, his splits since 2014, home and away, are 4 points greater than the splits of Drew Brees.
In other words, he is worse on the road than Drew Brees is even.
Yes.
What?
At home.
Whoa.
At home since 2014, he's had 15 games at home, 15 games on the road. Big Ben has averaged almost 30 fantasy points per game at home and 18 fantasy points per game on the road.
Oh.
So I'm just throwing this out there where if you've got 2 really good options this week, I think I need to move Big Ben just slightly down. And it's hard to say that when a guy's on fire like Big Ben has been.
Big Ben has been.
Big Ben has been.
Okay. What about the other side of the ball with Carson Wentz and that offense and Ryan Matthews, who, a lot of people freaked out about last week. I'm not freaked out about last week, but, obviously the Steelers, well-coached team, solid on the defensive side.
Yeah, they're
take
ranked,
away the weapons.
The running defense is ranked pretty highly. I'm still going to start Ryan Matthews. I'm okay with it. And I think Jordan Matthews has earned his way into you got to play him every single week. I know he dropped a touchdown. Yeah, he drops some passes every once in a while. Mike Evans drops passes. Amari Cooper drops passes. This is just part of the game. But he was still good. And that touchdown would have put him over the top to be a great play last week. The Steelers are currently the 31st passing defense in the league, so they are vulnerable through the air. I think that Jordan Matthews can get it done.
Okay. Let's move on now to the Bears and the Cowboys.
Burton. Trey Burton is if you're in that Barfy tight end, Trey Burton's it might be sneaky.
And we didn't say D'Angelo Williams because we just assume he's an auto start. But some of the transactions I've seen with D-Will lead me to believe people still don't think he's an auto start. If you got D-Will, he's in your lineup.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's move on now to the Bears and Cowboys, the Sunday night game, and what everybody wants to see, Dak Prescott against Brian Hoyer.
Oh, yeah.
So Jay Cutler's going to be out of this game. What are the implications for Hoyer taking over when it comes to a guy like Jeffrey, who we don't even know if Jeffrey's going to play in this game? And if Jeffrey doesn't play, what does it mean for Kevin White?
That's a very interesting question. You have my theory that could possibly be at play here. You have the backup quarterback, and you don't have the number one guy. So Kevin White elevates to become the number one. I don't know. You could see that Brian Hoyer, Kevin White connection. I'm not going to predict that one. I think that White would become an okay play against the Cowboys. It really gives me great concern, though, for Jeremy Langford, who has shown his inefficiencies. If you are a forward-thinking fantasy player, I would put Jordan Howard on my bench.
100%.
I would stash him.
This is the week that you're going to start seeing Jordan Howard a little bit more involved, and it's just such a terrible obviously, things can change, but as of right now, it looks to be a terrible situational game for Jeremy Langford because the Bears were ravaged by injury last week. So they were already a team that was definitely in the bottom half of expectations for the league, and then they lost so many of their key defensive players last week. So you got a game where the Bears are probably going to be down. And now you've seen Jordan Howard get more involved. You saw Jeremy Langford fumble. I'm scared of starting Langford. I am looking to stash Howard. I'm avoiding pretty much every Bear in this game whose name isn't Alshon Jeffrey if he plays. But I love what I'm seeing from the Dallas side. I like Dez. I like Ezekiel Elliott. The Chicago Bears defense doesn't scare me.
Do you like Heart Ring nominee Cole Beasley?
I don't like him as much. And I think he's okay. If you're in a PPR. he's gonna be fine. I guess I just feel like Cole Beasley is more necessary in difficult matchups. Where you got to get the ball out quick.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how the Bears defense travels this week against Dak Prescott, how they scheme him, and what their passing D does against Dez. I have Dez rated fairly high this week. I think this is going to be – look, Dak hasn't thrown any touchdowns.
No, he is not.
So I'd like to see him do that for the sake of, fantasy points. All right, Monday night game. Falcons take on the Saints. 53.5 point over-under.
Here it is.
I'm taking the over.
The fact that this game is the crescendo point of the week for fantasy purposes, and it gets to be Monday night, is so glorious. I'm so excited for Monday night.
What if you're a Willie Snead owner, though?
Yeah,
do you feel the same way?
No.
We need some updates. We know that he missed practice yesterday with the toe. I haven't heard anything that says he's going to miss the game yet, but it's certainly a situation that you have to pay attention to.
Yeah, and you have to be prepared for that.
Michael Thomas might be your insurance policy.
Yeah, if he's available on waivers, I would definitely grab Michael Thomas.
If you're the Snead?
Yes, if you're the Snead owner. Now, let's say
he's already been semi-productive, and so if you took Snead out of the equation, I think you'd see some – I think you'd see some Fleener.
I was going to say, do we have – I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, Andy. Jason and I were talking at length about this before the show.
I have no doubt.
We could have a reverse Samson situation here for Kobe Fleener. Kobe Fleener has cut the hair and donated it.
Oh, this past week?
He's gotten rid of all of his luscious locks.
So you think, look, the Saints have averaged 20 receptions a game for their wideouts, and Kobe Fleener hasn't gotten any of that attention. You think this changes now?
The hair is gone.
The hair was getting in the way.
It's just a ridiculous theory that I'm going to throw out there.
This is the kind of analysis you get here on the show.
All right,
and it makes sense that Mike would be hair related because he's got the beard. Now, have you ever thought that if you shaved your beard, you might have better insight on fantasy matchups?
That's not.
I guess being number 9 overall.
Yeah,
right
the
now,
beard gives me power.
If you are the Willie Snead owner, okay, and let's say Michael Thomas isn't available, or you got a great bench, you don't have anybody that's dropped.
You have a great bench.
Yes, if you have I'm allowed to say whatever I want.
I know. Sign Mohamed Sanu.
Okay, if Mohamed Sanu is out there, but my point is, if you have someone else, like Willie Snead was my start of the week. And it's starting to scare me now because he might not play. That's a very bad start of the week.
It's one of the worst.
One of the worst. But you
like
might
Gronk.
need to, if you have someone else, if you've got a Crabtree that, if Willie Snead's in your flex and you would prefer to start Willie Snead, but you've got Crabtree, I would probably put Crabtree in.
No problem.
Leave the huge upside of Willie Snead on the bench, because he's also a huge downside.
He's not A.J. Green. He's not Julio Jones. He's not Odell Beckham Jr. He's had 2 very good weeks to start the season, but he doesn't go into that you have to wait until the last minute to start him category. Just play a guy like Crabtree, play a guy like Doug Baldwin, play somebody else that you have. In my opinion, I agree with Jason completely on that one.
Here's my final hot take for this game. If you're waiting and you for that flex position and you could pick up either Mohamed Sanu or Jacob Tamme, I'm going to pick up and play Jacob Tamme.
Okay.
Over Sanu.
All right. Reminder, Mike will be on Periscope on Sunday morning. You can tune in there for some last-minute help and answers. You can also go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com. We have a submit a question button in the corner, and you can send questions in for our for live on the show. And also we have some other ways that you can get questions answered on there. And obviously you can interact with our community of over 2,200 over at jointhefoot.com. These are passionate people that aren't in your league, so you don't have to worry.
Or are they?
Or are they? So right now we're going to switch gears to some DFS and talk to Chris Meany of the Fantasy Sports Network.
The Daily Dose.
All right, thanks again to Chris Meany for joining us, giving us some insight on FanDuel for this weekend. Hopefully you have some success over there. And remember, you can sign up, FanDuel.com/ballers, and get involved with our leagues and things like that. So it's been a fun week. We hope you have a great week 3. Do you guys have any closing thoughts, any closing insights, secret predictions, anything you've been holding back from the Foot Clan?
The only thing I would say is I've been making notes, and I've got a big pad of paper on ranking changes. So make sure you continue to check the rankings as the week goes on. They do update.
Yes.
Good point.
And if you are a winner like us, you need to go to fantasyjocks.com and get your trophies, your championship belts.
Get ready.
Use the promo code footballers. You save a little bit of that quiche.
I believe you mean like me.
Oh,
See you later.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter @TheFFBallers.